Have you ever wondered why some people seem to have everything, yet never feel satisfied? They earn more, buy more, achieve more, and still wake up chasing the next thing. What if the secret to true wealth isn't having more, but needing less? More than 2,000 years ago, the Stoic philosopher Seneca offered a lesson that feels even more relevant today. He wrote, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor." In those few words, he challenged the very way we measure success. Modern culture tells us that happiness is always one purchase, one promotion, or one achievement away. It teaches us to compare our lives with everyone else's and to believe that our worth depends on what we own. But Seneca saw through this illusion. He believed that endless desire is a prison. The more we depend on external things for happiness, the more power we give them over our peace of mind. Imagine two people. One earns a modest income, lives simply, and feels grateful for what he has. The other earns 10 times as much, but constantly worries that it isn't enough. He compares himself with richer people, fears losing his status, and never feels secure. Looking from the outside, most would call the second person wealthy. Seneca would disagree. The truly wealthy person is the one who is content, because his happiness cannot be taken away by changing circumstances. This doesn't mean ambition is wrong. Stoicism never asks us to stop growing or stop pursuing excellence. Instead, it asks a deeper question. Are you chasing success because it aligns with your values, or because you believe it will finally make you enough? The greatest freedom comes when you realize that contentment is an inner decision, not an external reward. When you learn to appreciate what you already have, you stop living in constant scarcity. You begin to enjoy your possessions without becoming possessed by them. Every day, the world will tempt you to want more money, more recognition, more approval. But lasting peace begins when you recognize that your greatest treasure is not what fills your wallet, but what fills your character. So take a moment today. Instead of asking, "What am I missing?" ask yourself, "What do I already have that I have forgotten to value?" That single question can transform the way you see your life. If this message resonated with you, subscribe for more timeless wisdom from Seneca and the greatest Stoic thinkers. Remember, true strength begins with mastering yourself. Every life-changing chapter begins with a moment that feels terrifying, not because you're incapable, but because you're standing at the edge of the unknown. The question is never whether you feel fear. The question is whether you will let fear decide your future. More than 2,000 years ago, the Stoic philosopher Seneca understood that every meaningful beginning demands courage. He wrote, "Luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity." Behind those words lies a timeless truth. Opportunity alone is never enough. We must also have the courage to step forward when it arrives. Seneca knew that human beings naturally seek comfort. We cling to familiar routines, even when they no longer serve us, because the known feels safer than the unknown. Yet growth has never lived inside the comfort zone. The greatest opportunities often appear disguised as uncertainty. Imagine someone who has dreamed of starting a business for years. They have the ideas, the skills, and even a plan. But every time they are ready to begin, another excuse appears. What if I fail? What if people laugh at me? What if I lose everything? Months become years, and the dream remains untouched. Not because it was impossible, but because fear became stronger than action. This is a struggle almost everyone knows. We postpone conversations that could heal relationships. We delay pursuing careers that inspire us. We wait for the perfect time, believing confidence must come before action. Seneca offers a different perspective. Courage is not the reward for certainty. It is the decision to act despite uncertainty. The future can never be fully predicted, but your character is built every time you choose action over hesitation. The Stoics believed that fear grows larger when it is left unchallenged. The longer we avoid the first step, the more impossible it seems. But once we move, even in small ways, fear begins to lose its grip. Progress replaces paralysis. Experience replaces doubt. Every new beginning teaches something valuable. Success brings confidence. Failure brings wisdom. Both are gifts to the person who is willing to begin. The only true defeat is allowing fear to keep you standing still while life passes by. Today, there may be something calling you forward. a dream you keep postponing, a conversation you need to have, a goal you are afraid to pursue. You do not need guarantees before you begin. You only need the courage to take the first step. Years from now, you will not remember every fear that tried to stop you, but you will remember the moment you chose courage over comfort. That single decision may become the beginning of the life you were meant to live. If this message resonated with you, subscribe for more timeless wisdom from Seneca and the greatest Stoic thinkers. Remember, true strength begins with mastering yourself. What if the greatest source of pain in your life isn't what has happened to you, but what you keep imagining might happen? Think about how many sleepless nights have been spent worrying about conversations that never took place, failures that never arrived, or disasters that never happened. Before reality has a chance to test us, our minds often do the job for it, and that is where unnecessary suffering begins. More than 2,000 years ago, the Stoic philosopher Seneca recognized this timeless struggle. He wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." With this simple observation, he revealed one of the greatest traps of the human mind, our ability to create fear from possibilities instead of facts. Seneca did not claim that life is free from hardship. He experienced political exile, personal loss, and constant uncertainty. Yet he understood that while we cannot always control events, we can control the stories we tell ourselves about them. The mind that constantly predicts the worst turns ordinary challenges into unbearable burdens. Imagine someone waiting for the results of an important job interview. For days, they convince themselves they have failed. They replay every answer, criticize every mistake, and imagine a future filled with disappointment. Anxiety steals their sleep and their peace. Then the phone rings. They got the job. All that suffering existed only in their imagination. How often do we do the same? We fear rejection before we speak. We expect failure before we begin. We assume the worst before giving life a chance to unfold. Our imagination becomes a prison built from thoughts rather than reality. Seneca invites us to break free from that prison. Instead of asking, "What if everything goes wrong?" ask yourself, "What if my fears are exaggerating the truth?" Most of the obstacles we dread either never arrive or prove far less frightening than we expected. And when difficulties do come, we usually discover a strength we never knew we had. The Stoics believed courage is not the absence of fear. It is refusing to let fear of the future steal the present moment. Every minute spent worrying about an uncertain tomorrow is a minute taken away from living today. The next time your mind begins creating disasters that have not happened, pause, return to what is real. Breathe. Face the facts instead of your fears. Reality is often kinder than the stories anxiety tells. Perhaps the greatest freedom is not living without challenges, but living without becoming a prisoner of imagined ones. As Seneca reminds us, peace begins when we stop fighting battles that exist only in our minds. If this message resonated with you, subscribe for more timeless wisdom from Seneca and the greatest Stoic thinkers. Remember, true strength begins with mastering yourself.